Oh, hello there, friends! Welcome to the fire. Ooh. When real life relationship drama ends up leading into the game, that's not a good time. Real life relationship drama bleeding into the campaign. r/RPG horror stories, posted by Deli Joe. I like to preface the story with the disclaimer that, in hindsight, I as a DM made a lot of mistakes, which led to the issues that arose in this campaign. I wanted to post a story in hopes that other DMs can learn how to deal with similar issues in their campaigns. This situation took place a few years back, before the current boom in the popularity of D&D and role-playing games. It started when a Roll20 campaign I was playing in ended abruptly due to another crazy situation I actually posted about on this subreddit previously. After that campaign came to an end, I decided to DM a new campaign with some of the players from that previous failed campaign. The campaign I was planning was a world with typical D&D flair, mixed with a prehistoric setting. So, instead of the fauna that you would typically see, the world would be populated with dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals alongside normal D&D creatures. These animals would take the place of the usual animals typically used in everyday tasks. For example, people rode dinosaurs instead of horses. Giant sorceropods would be used to transport large numbers of people. That kind of thing. The two players that the issues began to arise were, let's call her Kate, and her real-life boyfriend, let's call him Ben. Kate was a prolific D&D player who also DM'd her own campaign on Roll20, as well as playing in two others besides mine. As my campaign got going, after a few sessions, she started having relationship issues with her boyfriends. Problems which she spent an hour or more after sessions, as well as on other days between sessions, crying to me about. Now, here is where I began to royally screw up. Because she kept crying to me about her issues, I began to take her side in nearly every way in the campaign. She wasn't a huge fan of dinosaurs, even though the rest of the players, including Ben, loved the idea of dinosaurs in D&D. I even ran a one-shot where the players were hunting a T-Rex, which Kate did not participate in. I basically had to start dialing back on the dinosaurs in order to keep Kate happy. I also had to dial back on my ideas for downtime activities like a player keep, which she and a couple of other players weren't into. Then things got even worse, where I stupidly allowed myself to bring elements from her campaign into mine, including her YA edgelord villain named Nightshade, who immediately became the big bad. So, needless to say, after all this, Kate and Ben's relationship got worse, and they apparently broke up, even though they continued to play in the campaign. The players' characters became adversarial, of course, but thankfully, it didn't devolve into PvP. Eventually, things came to a head where Ben came to me and basically demanded that I pay more attention to him and his character. Well, he was right for the most part, as I took Kate's side and began to almost turn her into the main character. Ben was playing a cleric, so he wanted to have his character worship a different god, as I used a set of custom created deities for my world. The plan was a plot to reveal that the god he was actually receiving his powers from was actually a trickster god. He liked the plan until I revealed the god, which was another mistake of mine, as basically Tim Curry's Pennywise the Clown. he didn't like it one bit. And at that point, I had enough and said that this was my world's design and that I should have a say on what deities are in my world. So, he basically said, "Huh, have fun with your world," and left the campaign. The worst part of all this was what happened next. The other players took his side, including his ex-girlfriend Kate. Needless to say, the campaign ended there. I broke off all contact with those players and haven't played much on Roll20 since then. Again, in hindsight, I made a lot of mistakes here. I let real-life relationship issues affect the campaign down to the story and the characters. I learned a ton about DMing since then from a myriad of sources, but even now, I think dealing with this kind of situation in a game is very difficult. You have to balance making sure the players are having fun while still laying down the law and not allowing the players to completely take control of the story. Yeah, gotta say, OP did kinda F up here. So, when your friend needs a shoulder to cry on, you can still be their friend and be there for them. But if you're the DM and at the table, one of your duties is to treat everyone fairly and equally. And that goes for the players as well. Please leave your drama at the door. So, when the whole issue with Ben arose, that could have been handled so much better by taking them aside, working with them, and taking their input, like actually having Ben himself pick out the new deity for their character. In fact, it was a bit hypocritical that OP reacted the way they did with Ben, but they were okay with having elements of Kate's world in theirs. I mean, it's pretty bad when exes who have issues with each other end up agreeing and walking out together. Yeah. So, what do you all think? Sound off in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. And would you kindly follow the socials posted in the description below. As always, be good, be great, be awesome.